The waves crashed like thunder, swallowing my scream as I clawed through the sand, my fingers bleeding from the grit. No, no, fuck no, I gasped, the panic rising sharper than the salt spray stinging my eyes. In that instant, everything I'd scraped together, my last $20, my ID, the crumpled photo of Mom smiling before the cancer took her, vanished into the tide, leaving me stripped bare on a California shore I'd come to escape it all. A shadow fell over me, broad and unhurried, cutting through the dying light of the Santa Monica sunset. "Hey, easy there," a voice said, low and steady like the anchor of a boat in storm. I looked up, tears blurring the edges, and there he was, holding my wallet, water dripping from its edges like it had been pulled from the depths just for me. His eyes, the color of driftwood warmed by fire, locked on mine without pity, only a quiet understanding that hit me harder than any wave. "You look like you could use this back," he said, extending it slowly, as if handing over more than leather and paper, maybe a lifeline I didn't know I was drowning without. I snatched it from his hand, my chest heaving, but instead of bolting like the cornered animal I felt like, I froze. Close. He smelled like sea salt and sunscreen, with a faint hint of something earthier, like pine from the hills beyond the highway. His name was Jordan, he told me as we sat there on the cooling sand, the wallet heavy in my lap like a confession. He was a surf instructor, 29 to my 26, with calluses on his palms from gripping boards and a laugh that rumbled like distant thunder over the Pacific. I come to LA. From the flat, unforgiving sprawl of Ohio 6 months back, chasing whispers of reinvention after burying Mom and dodging my dad's endless lectures about getting my shit together. The beach was supposed to be my reset button, endless horizon, no judgments, but losing that wallet felt like the universe laughing at my delusion. Jordan didn't pry, not at first. He just pulled a lukewarm beer from his backpack, cracked it open with a pocket knife, and offered me half. "To bad days ending better than they start," he toasted, clinking the bottle against my knee since I was too stunned to take it. We talked, or rather, he talked, spinning stories of rogue waves that had tossed him like driftwood and the time he'd paddled out at dawn to watch dolphins arc against the rising sun. I nodded, sipping the bitter fizz, feeling the knot in my gut loosen for the first time in weeks. There was something about him, a quiet confidence that didn't demand anything, that made the world feel a little less like it was caving in. By the time the sky bruised purple, the bonfire he'd coaxed from driftwood was crackling, casting flickering shadows on his face. Other surfers trickled in, tanned locals with easy grins and inside jokes, but Jordan kept me close, like I was part of the ritual. "You ever tried it?" he asked, nodding at the dark ocean. I shook my head, admitting my fear of the water, of anything that could pull you under without warning. He smiled, not mocking, just real. "That's okay. Sometimes the best rides start on solid ground." I didn't plan to see him again. Life in LA was a grind, barista shifts at a hipster coffee joint in Venice, crashing on a buddy's lumpy couch, dodging calls from Dad about real jobs. But 2 days later, there he was, leaning against the counter with that same easy posture, ordering a black coffee like he owned the place. "Figured I'd return the favor," he said, sliding a tip jar donation my way, $20, exactly what I'd lost. My cheeks burned, but he waved it off. "Nah, that's for the story. You owe me one now." That story turned into coffee breaks, then sunset walks along the boardwalk where he'd point out the hidden murals tucked between graffiti tags, each one a snapshot of someone's unspoken dream. Jordan was out and proud. He'd let slip one evening over tacos from a truck that smelled like heaven on earth. Grew up in San Diego, came out at 17 to parents who hugged him tighter instead of pushing away. It was worlds from my own silence. The way I'd buried my first crush on a high school teammate under layers of denial. The furtive glances at guys in college that I'd chalk up to just being curious. Hearing him talk about it, casual as the ocean breeze, cracked something open in me. Not jealousy, exactly, but a hunger for that kind of freedom. We fell into a rhythm. Mornings, he'd text me wave reports. Glass today. You in. And I'd laugh it off, but show up anyway, perched on the sand with a thermos of his borrowed coffee, watching him carve the swells like he was born to it. Evenings blurred into shared silences on his balcony overlooking the lights of the pier, where he'd strum an old guitar, voice gravelly and true on songs about lost highways and second chances. One night, after a particularly brutal shift where a customer had screamed about oat milk like it was the end of days, I showed up at his door unannounced, rain-soaked from a freak summer storm. He pulled me inside without a word, wrapped me in a towel that smelled like him, and held me until the shaking stopped. It was there, in the dim glow of his string lights, that the air shifted. Our knees brushed on the couch, and neither of us moved away. "Alex," he murmured, my name like a secret on his lips. "You don't have to carry it all alone." His hand found mine, thumb tracing the scars from that frantic dig in the sand, and I leaned in, heart pounding like the bass from a distant club. Our kiss was tentative at first, salt and hesitation, then deeper, a release I'd been holding back since the day I left Ohio. It wasn't fireworks. It was a slow burn, the kind that warms you from the inside out, promising maybe, just maybe, I could learn to float. But LA has a way of testing those promises. My buddy Ryan, the one whose couch I'd been poisoning with my brooding, started side-eyeing my late nights. "Dude, you're glowing or some shit," he'd tease, but there was an edge to it, like he sensed the shift. Ryan was straight as an arrow, the kind of guy who'd high-five you through a breakup but clam up if you mentioned anything weird. I'd never told him about Jordan, not outright, but the secrets started piling up like seashells after a storm. Jordan, bless him, didn't push. He knew the dance, the careful steps around family, friends, the world that still sometimes felt like it was waiting to judge. We'd steal moments. A hand on the small of my back in a crowded bar, stolen glances over breakfast burritos. But the deeper we went, the more I felt the pull of my old life, like undertow dragging me back. Dad called one afternoon while I was at Jordan's, his voice crackling over the line from Cleveland. "Son, your aunt says you're shacking up with some beach bum? Get your head out of the clouds. Alex, life ain't a vacation." I hung up, throat tight, and Jordan found me staring at the wall, phone clutched like a grenade. "Family?" he asked softly, sitting beside me. I nodded, spilling it all, the funeral debts still haunting me. The way Dad's disappointment felt heavier than any wave. Jordan listened, then pulled me close. "You're not your dad's version of you, Alex. You're mine, if you want." His words wrapped around me, a buoy in the chop. We took a road trip up the coast that weekend, escaping to Big Sur where the cliffs dropped sheer into the sea. The drive was magic, windows down, his playlist of indie folk crooning about open roads, my hand in his over the gearshift. We hiked to hidden coves, bodies slick with sweat and sea mist, laughing as we skipped stones into the abyss. That night, under a blanket of stars sharper than city lights, we made love, not rushed, not desperate, but like two souls finally aligning. His touch was reverence, mapping every inch of me like I was a coastline he charted in dreams. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of salt and eucalyptus, he whispered, "I could do this forever, you know. You and me against the tide." I believed him. God, I did. But back in LA, the cracks showed. Ryan cornered me one morning over cold pizza remnants. "Look, man, I saw you with that guy. Jordan, right? What's the deal?" His tone was casual, but his eyes were hard, like he'd caught me stealing. I froze, the old fear clawing up. "It's nothing," I lied, hating the taste. "Just friends." Ryan snorted, clapping my shoulder too hard. "Good, 'cause this city's full of temptations. Don't fuck up what you've got going here." What I had going was a temp gig at a startup downtown, pushing spreadsheets for tech bros who talked reinvention like it was an app update. Jordan had his surf lessons, steady but seasonal, and we'd started dreaming aloud. Maybe a place together, or me learning to paddle out. But doubt crept in like fog off the water. What if Dad was right? What if this was just another escape, destined to wash away? The betrayal came swift as a rogue wave. It was a Friday, the kind where the air hummed with weekend promise. Jordan had planned a surprise, dinner at this hole-in-the-wall seafood spot with fairy lights strung like stars. I was running late, stuck in traffic on the 10, when my phone buzzed. Not Jordan, but Ryan, a screenshot, time-stamped from last night. Me and Jordan, outside his apartment, locked in that kiss, the one that had felt like home. The caption, "Dude, WTF? Thought you were straight edge. This why you're ditching bros for beach bums?" My blood turned to ice. Ryan had followed me, snapped it like evidence in some fucked up trial. I confronted him that night, storming back to the apartment, the city lights blurring through angry tears. "Why?" I demanded, shoving the phone at him. He shrugged, arms crossed like a fortress. "Protecting you, man. This life's a trap. Guys like that chew you up and spit you out. Seen it with my cousin. You deserve better than some fairy tale that'll end in heartbreak." His words sliced deeper than I expected, echoing every fear I'd buried. "Better like what? Hiding? Pretending?" I shouted, voice breaking. Ryan's face twisted. Pity, maybe disgust. "Yeah, exactly. Real life, Alex. Not this rainbow bullshit." He was gone by morning, couch empty, a note taped to the fridge. "Call your dad. Sort your shit." I didn't go to dinner. Texted Jordan a lame excuse about work. Then ghosted, curling into the silence of the empty apartment. Days blurred, shifts on autopilot, waves crashing unheard outside my window. Jordan's texts piled up. "Talk to me. Miss your voice. Whatever it is, we face it together." But the shame was a weight, pinning me down. How could I drag him into my mess? My fractured family? My cowardice? He showed up at the coffee shop a week later. I shadowed like he'd barely slept. The line snaked long, but he waited, patient as ever. When it was his turn, he didn't order, just slid a small shell across the counter, the kind we'd collected in Big Sur, iridescent and smooth. "Remember this?" he said, voice low so only I could hear. "You said it looked like hope caught in the light." I nodded, throat closing. "Alex, whatever's got you running, it's not bigger than us." I broke then, spilling it all in the back alley amid overflowing dumpsters and the hum of the espresso machine. The photo, Ryan's betrayal, the echo of Dad's voice in my head. Jordan pulled me into his chest, strong arms a harbor. "He's wrong," he murmured fiercely. "All of them. You're not broken for loving who you love. And neither am I." We rebuilt from there, tentative as rebuilding sandcastles after high tide. I called Dad, not for absolution, but truth, told him about Jordan, the wallet, the man who'd handed me back more than my life. His silence stretched, heavy, then cracked. "I pushed too hard, son. After your mom, I forgot how to let go. Be happy, Alex. That's all she wanted. It wasn't forgiveness overnight, but a door cracking open, light spilling through. Ryan faded out, a ghost of bad choices. But Jordan stayed, through the awkward family Zoom where Dad grilled him on surf forecasts like it was an interrogation, through my first wobbly paddle on a board where I ate it spectacularly and he fished me out laughing. The romance deepened, not in grand gestures, but the quiet ones. His hand in mine during pride marches down Santa Monica Boulevard, rainbows waving like flags of surrender. The way he'd leave notes in my lunch, scribbled lyrics about tides turning. Yet the climax hit like a storm front no one saw coming. It was 6 months in, autumn nipping at the edges of our endless summer. Jordan's ex, Marcus, a silver-tongued photographer who'd ghosted him years back for a real life in New York, washed up like debris after a hurricane, showed up at one of Jordan's lessons, all charm and regret, camera slung like a weapon. "Missed you, Jay," he said, loud enough for the group to hear, eyes flicking to me with calculated pity. I saw the fracture in Jordan's easy smile, the way his shoulders tensed like rigging before a gale. That night, over takeout pho that went cold, he confessed. Marcus had been his first love, the one who'd taught him to dive deep, then left him floundering. He says he's changed, back for good. But Alex, it's you the words hung, unspoken but electric. Panicked, old wounds reopening. What if I'm just the rebound, the safe harbor till the storm passes? My voice cracked, betrayal's shadow looming, not Jordan's, but my own fears manifesting. We argued, voices rising over the crash of waves audible through the open window. "You think I'd risk this for a ghost?" he shot back, hurt etching lines around his eyes. "I've been all in since that wallet hit my palm." I stormed out, walking the boardwalk till my feet blistered, the Ferris wheel's lights mocking my turmoil. Hours later, dawn breaking gray and unforgiving, I found him on the beach, the same stretch where it started, sitting with knees drawn up, staring at the horizon like it held answers. "I'm sorry," I whispered, collapsing beside him. "I let the fear win again." He turned, eyes red-rimmed but steady. "We both did. But fear's just another wave. Alex, you ride it or it takes you under." We sat there as the sun crested, painting the water gold, and I realized the truth. Love wasn't the absence of storms, but choosing to paddle out together. In the end, Marcus slunk away, his apologies as empty as his lens. Jordan and I didn't rush to labels or leases. We let it unfold, organic as kelp forests swaying underwater. I quit the startup grind for a gig writing freelance pieces on coastal hidden gems. Stories of lost things found, of hearts mended by salt and sun. Dad visited once, awkward but trying, sharing a beer with Jordan on the balcony, toasting to new beginnings. It's not perfect, this life. There are still nights when doubt whispers like wind through the palms, when family silences stretch long. But every morning, I wake to Jordan's arm across my waist, his breath steady against my neck, and I think of that wallet, how a simple act of kindness became the thread pulling me from unraveling. In the vast, unpredictable blue of it all, we found our current, carrying us forward. Not always smooth, but always true. And in America's endless shorelines, where dreams wash up like treasures, that's enough.